Sorry about that, guys. We're back. Hey, I'm one of your hosts today, Sammy Mora, and today I am joined by Jacob Mennuti of Wildcat Dash. How are you, Jacob?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little bummed out, to be honest with you. I was really counting down the days where I would be sitting on my couch watching Pac-12 football all day. But I mean, to an extent, I could still do that, but it just doesn't feel the same without Arizona and all these canceled games. It kind of puts a damper on everything. I don't know. I will say though, I'm a little intimidated by how red it is on this show. I'm much more used to my Navy Wildcat Dash. I'm also on the right side instead of the left, so I mean, I'm stepping way out of my comfort zone today.
Well, that's what it's all about, is jumping over, crossing over, getting used to some different things. But yeah, I feel the same way. I was so excited to be up in the press box at Rice Eccles tomorrow, watching the Utes play, watching the Wildcats, having a good time. But, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting at least one or two more games to be canceled by the Pac-12 this season, just given how everything's going. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame because, the way that the Pac-12 schedule was arranged to be, 7 games in 7 weeks, was really no room for error because that seventh game is a few days before that final college football playoff committee voting meeting, where they pick all the final playoff teams and, they set all the bowl games. So, I mean, it was just a tough situation because, we really don't know when or if this game will actually get rescheduled. I mean, at this point, the only realistic option is instead of that seventh week where there's the cross division game, you use that extra week to reschedule all of the canceled games. That's really the only real opportunity to make these games up for right before the bowl season. But you're totally right. We should have seen this coming. Like, it was just so ignorant for the Pac-12 to just assume that none of these games were going to be canceled and everything was going to go smoothly, and we don't need any wiggle room. When we made this schedule, like, I don't know, it was just so ridiculous to just assume that it's gonna go perfectly. And you're right, we should have saw this coming.
like, look at the Big Ten. The Big Ten has already had to cancel how many games, and they're kind of in the same. They were in the same boat as the Pac-12. They've made their schedule with no wiggle room. So it's disappointing. It's upsetting, and like, I don't know how things are down in Arizona, but the cases have spiked drastically here in Utah over the last week and a half. So it's disappointing, and it hurts. Like, I hurt for the players, I hurt for the coaches, I hurt for the fans, I hurt for the media, and I hurt for everyone who's involved, because we have been looking forward to this for such a long time, and especially Utah fans who have so much to look forward to. This team was so exciting. You have a really good offense with still, we don't know who the starting quarterback's going to be for Utah. We have to wait yet another week to find out if there will even be, if we even play against UCLA next week, but we don't know. That's a topic for another day. But from my vantage point as a Utah reporter, is this team was really exciting, and this was really an intriguing matchup for me. So
Yeah, I mean, you have to feel for the Arizona players and, the Washington players as well. Their game got canceled as well. And you just got to feel for all the players who handled this situation the right way. And, they followed all the protocols. They did everything the right way. And they still couldn't play their game this weekend. And, this game being canceled just doesn't affect only Arizona and Utah. Like you mentioned, it also affects UCLA, you guys are supposed to play next week. So, if they're, 10 to 14 day quarantine, whatever it is, the standard protocol is, they're not going to be able to play that UCLA game either. So, we saw it in the MLB where, the Marlins and the Cardinals had their outbreaks. Sure, you could shut these teams down, but, what about the other teams and the teams that were supposed to play against them? So it doesn't just affect the two teams in this game. It affects the entire conference, and you just kind of got to feel for everyone involved. It's a real shame.
it's a real trickle down effect too, because like you said, it's affecting not only Arizona, but it's going to affect UCLA. And with Cal and Washington, it affected Washington, and it might affect who they play the next week too. It's just a big thing. I do want to go back to the point you made about rescheduling games for that week, that seventh week. I think that's a good idea, because to be completely honest, at the end of the day, in my thoughts is sometimes conference, your divisional record matters more than your crossover with the other division. So I personally would rather play Arizona than have to play like a Stanford or a Cal that 7th week if Utah wasn't to make it to the Pac-12 championships, given how they'd like laid out the schedules and stuff like that. But I think that's a really smart idea for the Pac-12 because they've kind of pushed themselves into a corner with this situation, with starting the season so late and saying we're only going to play 7 games and it has to be done by this day and all these things. It's a mess. It's a mess for the conference.
And we really should have seen this coming. Like, I remember, the weeks leading up to this game, the state of Utah's COVID cases were rising, every day. And there were talks that, maybe this game will be played in Tucson instead, because it was getting so bad. So, like, the fact that these teams and players were just now finding out about this morning with no sort of warning is just so crazy to me. Like, the Pac-12 should have had a backup plan for this. They should have seen the cases in Utah rising and that there was a chance that this game could get affected by those cases. It's just so frustrating to watch this whole thing just keep unfolding. All the unfortunate news, this keeps happening, and the Pac-12 seemingly just having no solution to it. Like, the Pac-12 is just so much worse than every other conference. It's just insane. Like, I don't know why there's just no sort of backup plan for this. Like, we can get into it later about, what the Pac-12 can do to fix this, but it's just a real shame right now to kind of see everything unfolding with just no sense of direction either.